In this video, I'm going to be going over the most underrated creatures in Ark. This is going to be Ark Survival Evolved and Ascended, but anyway, let's just get into it. First creature I have on the list is the Iguanodon. I think this is like one of the best early game tames, and I don't think a lot of people tame it. I think people that are pretty experienced in the game would probably end up using the Iguanodon, but I feel like a lot of people end up just taming a Parasaur or something like that. But honestly, the Iguanodon is like the best one you can do, and there's a lot of reasons. First off, I mean, it's really strong. If you go on the two-legged stance, you can deal a lot of damage, and it has two different stances. The two-legged one, like I said, you can deal damage with, and then there's the four-legged stance, which when you run on all fours, you don't drain stamina at all, which is phenomenal for outrunning creatures that are attacking you, or just for traveling across the map. You can go huge distances, and it's a lot faster because you don't have to stop for stamina and wait, and it's also just pretty quick. It also has another ability. If you put berries in its inventory, you can change them to seeds, so that's just a nice bonus as well. So if you need seeds for anything that you already have, you can just switch them over like that. As well as, I mean, it can gather berries too, which is nice, so you can get berries early game for narcotics and stuff like that. Overall, I think the Iguanodon is like the best early game tame. It's just a really great creature overall. At number 2 is the Megaloceros. This is one I don't really see many people using that much anymore, and I still think it's a pretty good creature. It's got a couple things that I like using it for. I mean, first off, I guess you could use it for a travel mount if you wanted. These things are super easy to tame. You kind of just bully them, knock them out. You can ride them around, and they're really fast, especially the female one, except for the female one can't attack. It's more about the male one, because the male one has the, like, antlers, which you can use to harvest a ton of thatch. This thing gets lots of thatch from pretty much anywhere, which, I mean, I think this is one of the better ways of getting thatch. Of course, now you can use like stegos and mammoths and stuff, but they're not as easy to tame as the Megaloceros is, because this thing you can tame super easily, and I think it's great for getting thatch. It's still one of my favorites and definitely one of my go-tos for getting thatch. And number 3 is the Plesiosaur. The Plesiosaur I see usually gets a lot of hate, but I actually really like this thing. It's good for travel, I think is the best. For ocean travel specifically, it's just one of the fastest underwater creatures, and you can get around the ocean really quickly. Especially when there's just tons of different stuff you need to do down there, you can get around pretty quickly, and this thing's pretty strong, even though the only bad thing is it's pretty hard to hit with because of the neck. It's super long, and it's kind of like weird to try and hit with it, but you can get a little good at it, and once you do, I mean, you can deal some pretty good damage with it, and I've used it to kill all kinds of stuff. It's definitely not the best underwater creature in the game, but I don't think it's as bad as people make it out to be. As I think it's really great, especially for travel, because like I said, it's insanely quick. It also has a platform saddle too, even though I don't really know what you'd want to use that for, but it's just a bonus that it has. And number 4 is the Parasaur. This one is pretty good, I think, too. I always like taming Parasaurs. They got a few different functions. First off, they can get a really good amount of berries, and they've got plenty of weight to carry it. So, I mean, there's tons of different creatures you can use to harvest berries, but I think Parasaurs are pretty good for that. As well as, I mean, they're pretty easy to tame too, so getting berries with those, it's not that bad. Also, the platform saddle I like to use because you can build pretty big things on the back of them. You could build huge platforms to have different stuff, maybe if you want to craft stuff, or you can have storage on there, or you could even maybe fit a few creatures on there too to move them around. I think it's just pretty good, especially for the platform saddle mainly. I like building houses on the back of it or something small like that, and you can actually fit a lot if you know how to build them there properly, so I think that's why the Parasaur is pretty good. And number 5 is the Procoptodon. I think to the casual player, they don't really see much of a use in the Procoptodon as it's just a kangaroo, but this thing is actually pretty fantastic, as it's not the easiest thing to tame in the world, but of course it's not super hard either. You could build a trap for it and get it tamed, and it's really rare on some maps like the island, but on Scorched Earth you can find them around pretty easily. I like taming them in Genesis Part 1 because there's no flyers on that map, but the reason it's so good is for its travel capabilities. It runs really quick, you can outrun most things, but also the jump, you can go so far, it's actually insane. You could jump off cliffs, or jump up the side of cliffs and stuff, and completely go around huge obstacles with it. It's just great for that. It's also got the like kick where you can kick its forward, as well as it has the ability to put babies in its pouch, which is just another bonus. As well as if you have a male and a female, you get an imprint buff on like babies that you're trying to imprint to, so it's just another good use for it. So overall, I think the Procoptodon is really good. Number 6 is the Dunkleosteus. This is a great underwater creature, and definitely an underrated one, because I don't see a lot of people using this one, but it's got a pretty great ability. I mean, it's kind of slow, so I could see why people think of it like that. And also, it's not the best for like fighting underwater because it's so slow. I mean, it's decently strong, but you can't really take out most creatures that you're gonna get killed. But it's got plenty of weight, as well as it can harvest all kinds of different stuff like stone. It can harvest oil, metal, and stuff. And maps like the center have tons of metal underwater that you can harvest, making it like one of the best things. Might even be better than an Anki for metal on maps like the center and stuff. You can get tons of metal with this thing, as well as oil. Like I said, you can get pretty much any rock type or mineral underwater you can get with this thing, and you can get a lot of it. You can also use it to harvest tons of stone. There's tons of rocks underwater, and you could use it to harvest stone. So you can use it as like a Doedicurus too, or as a replacement for a Doedicurus to go harvest tons of stone, which is great. But after that, at number 7, I have the Equus. This one I think is a really great starter tame as well. It's just a little difficult to tame early game because it takes so long, and it's best to use like rock carrot and stuff to tame it, which is not exactly easy to get early game unless you're on a map like Ragnarok or something where you can find out in the wild. But Equus is, I think, a really great one if you can manage to get it early game, and I don't see lots of people using it at all. I've seen people even say it's maybe not that good, but it definitely is pretty great, as you can ride around. It's pretty quick, you can outrun lots of things. It's got the kick ability, which can actually do torpor damage, which you can knock things out with, or you can just deal damage to get stuff away from you, which is great. It also has the lasso that you can make, which is unique to this creature, and you can only use it with the Equus, but you can use this to move unconscious creatures. So if things get knocked out, you can move them while they're unconscious, or if they get knocked out underwater, you can move them. It also has weight reductions on tons of different resources like stone, fiber. I think it's just lots of stuff that you would use in a mortar and pestle, which it also has a mortar and pestle that you can use on it, which is great as well. So you can craft stuff that you can normally only craft in a mortar and pestle, and you can do it on the go with the Equus. Next up at number 8 is the Bronto. I think this one is my go-to berry harvester, and I see a lot of people dunking on it, saying the Bronto is like pretty much useless now because of just like better creatures, and it's not really that great of a sauropod, but I still like using this thing, and I think it's really great, like I said, for berry harvesting and moving resources around. It has a ton of weight. It has like thousands of weight. Even when you just tame it, you don't even have to upgrade it, you still have tons of weight, more than most creatures anyway. And you can harvest tons of berries because of the huge area of effect with its tail. You can just harvest a ton of berries, and you'll have plenty of them, which is great for mainly getting narco berries. That's what I use it for, to get as much narcotics as I need. But any other berry you need, you can harvest this, and I think it's the best berry harvester in the game because of the area effect of its tail and the amount of weight it has. And number 9 is the Diplocalus. This one is a pretty good one as well, that I think is pretty underrated because it's just really weak and it doesn't really do much damage, as well as you can only ride it underwater. But it's got some really useful functions, like the ability to just get oxygen from it. You can just breathe anytime, which is great when you're riding it underwater, as well as if you don't have a scuba gear, you can use this early game to pretty much infinitely breathe underwater, or until you run out of oxygen with this thing. But you can also upgrade oxygen on it, I think. It's also super fast. It is really quick. It's one of the fastest underwater creatures for how small it is, so you can outrun most underwater creatures, meaning you can use this to travel around the ocean and outrun most things, or maybe even go into caves. I've seen people go into some of the caves, and that's quite dangerous to do, but you can use it for that, which I think is a great use for it. And number 10 is the Megalodon. This is one that I used to not really like at all for the longest time, until they ended up buffing it and I started using it a little bit more, and it's actually become pretty good. And it could actually be one of the best underwater creatures now because of a few reasons. I mean, it's pretty strong. It also has the blade attack that they added, so you can use this thing to kill alphas, which I've used. I've used it to kill alpha mosasaurs and alpha megalodons as well, because it works. The bleed attack works on those. You can kind of just bleed them out to death, which works for getting XP if you want to kill them that way, or get black pearls with it, which is great. It's also decently fast. I mean, it's not like insanely quick or anything, but you can get around with the megalodon, as well as it has a pack bonus, which makes it great. If you want to have a pack of these, you can use the pack bonus to go into caves and like annihilate everything in there, because if you have a pack of megalodons, you'll do so much damage. And because of all those reasons, the buffs, of course, with the pack bonus and the bleed, it's made the megalodon so much better, and honestly one of the best underwater creatures. Not the best though, but pretty good. And in number 11 is the gas bags. I remember when this one first came out, I thought it was stupid. I think a lot of people thought it was pretty stupid. And I mean, if you're not like a hardcore Ark player, then you probably don't see what the reason for it being so good would be, as it kind of just farts its way up, and then it can still take fall damage and die, and is not really the greatest for travel. Mainly in the in-game. You can use it early game for travel, But I mean, it's not super hard to tame. It's just a simple knockout tame. But the main use for it is it has a ton of weight. It's got one of the highest weight stats in the game. This right here, I have got one that was just a base level, like 225. Okay, of course, that's a perfect max tame, but it also had 5,000 weight when I tamed out. I don't know any other creature that would have that much weight other than like a Titanosaur or something like that. It's got a stupid amount of weight that you can use, and you can upgrade it to have even more, so you can carry so much stuff. It's great for moving around tons of resources like metal and stuff like that. In the later game, you can harvest it with another creature and move it all to the gas bags, and if you have it max leveled, you can have tons of weight on there, and you can move it around. And honestly, it's pretty good for travel too. It doubles up as a pretty good early game tame for traveling around Extinction and the other maps that it's on, as if you know how to use the like fart bubble moving method right, you can actually get around pretty quickly. But that's gonna be it for this video. If you guys did enjoy it, make sure to leave a like and also subscribe. Also got this video idea from somebody on my Discord server, so if you want to join that and suggest some ideas, you can, even though the server's not really that active at all, and I should probably put more work into it, but I haven't, so it's not very active. But I mean, you can join it if you want, I guess. The link's on the description. But anyway, thanks for watching, and bye.